Hi, this is Sue Jackson of the Book by Book blog, and I'm here with another Friday Reads. It is still Big Book Summer, so I am still reading big books, though it wraps up on September 4th, so we are quickly coming to the end of Big Book Summer. With that in mind, I chose a couple of shorter big books, smaller big books, so that I would have time to fit in another one before September 4th. Now, if you're interested in participating in Big Book Summer next year, you don't have to read as many big books as I do. This is just the way I like to do it. With the challenge, you set your own goals, whether that's one big book between May and September, or like I like to do, a whole stack or somewhere in between. So this was my stack at the beginning of the summer. Of those books, I had 4 left. So of those remaining books, I chose the shortest one so that I could fit in one more. So the thing is, once September begins, September and October for me mean the RIP challenge. That's Readers Imbibing Peril. A very simple challenge in the book blogging world that's been around for about 20 years now, where you just read darker stuff in the fall, in September and October. I love that challenge. It's a whole lot of fun for me. So when we get to the end of Big Book Summer and we're getting into those first few days of September, I like my last book for Big Book Summer to also be one that qualifies for the RIP challenge. Kind of double dipping. My second to the last big book of the summer is Afterland by Lauren Bucas. In fact, this one would qualify for the RIP challenge. It's dystopian and also post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic. They're kind of still in the middle of the apocalypse. So what this book is about is, and this might hit a little close to home for many people, the apocalypse that's going on did begin with a worldwide pandemic. However, it was nothing like COVID. I had to check when this was published. It was published in the middle of 2020, which definitely means the author wrote it way before COVID. So anyway, this is a very unique virus that only affects males and has a fatality rate of 99% in males. It only attacks those with an XY chromosome. The virus causes a particularly virulent form of prostate cancer. And so where the book begins, it begins in 2023, which is a little chilling, but we're several years into this already, and many of the men worldwide have died, men and boys. The main character here is a woman named Cole and her son Miles. So her husband and his father have died, along with her brother-in-law, her nephew, but Miles seems to be one of the very few, one of the less than 1% that is immune to this virus. So Miles is still alive. We're 3 years into this now, but the world is a completely different place. The US government, in their infinite wisdom, has chosen to protect and quarantine any remaining males. And their nearest living relatives are allowed to go with them into protection. But Cole and Miles's experience with this protective custody has not been good. And so in the very first pages of this novel, they are escaping. So for much of the novel so far, I'm a little more than halfway, they are on the run. They are trying to avoid the government, but also boys and men are in great demand now. And in fact, one of the things they ran from, and this is right in the first few pages, is that Cole's own sister, Miles's Aunt Billy, wanted to sell his sperm on the black market, figuring it's not going to hurt him at all. And in fact, Billy got in with some really rough company that now wants her to deliver on this promise. So Cole and Miles are not only running from the government and from protective custody and from any bad guys, but her own sister is one of those bad guys. So in order to go through the world as it is now, Miles, who is only 12, has to dress and pretend to be a girl, so he's Mila now. And this is the story of the two of them, mother and son, trying to make their way across the U.S. They are from South Africa. Cole's husband and Miles's father was American, which is how they ended up stuck in the U.S. They can't get back to South Africa now, but that is their goal. So this is a very exciting thriller. There's a lot of action and suspense and tension, but it's also got, in the way of any dystopian novel, it's also got some really interesting, fascinating world building as they go through this changed U.S. that is more than 99% female now, that has become a very different place. So it's an excellent book. It's been very gripping right from the first pages, which is good. I needed that right now. The RIP challenge is going to be good for me, going through some stuff at home. So this is just what I needed. It is completely engrossing. So that's Afterland by Lauren Bucas. By the way, she was the author of The Shining Girls, which I absolutely loved. Another sort of genre-crossing novel that had, it was a thriller and a mystery about a serial killer, but the serial killer was able to move through time. So time-traveling serial killer, I was up for that. This is another really inventive, engrossing novel. My audiobooks during the summer were also big books, and I've just started my last big book audio for the summer. I just finished Lines of Courage by Jennifer Nielsen, a middle grade novel about World War I. Highly recommend that. Check out last week's Friday Reads if you want to hear more about that. So the new audiobook I have just started, my last book of Big Book Summer, which will cross over into the RIP challenge as of September 1st, is A World of Curiosities by Louise Penny. So I have not read the whole Louise Penny series. I know lots of people really look forward to each book, and I've read every single book of hers. I was a latecomer to the series. I read the first book, Still Life, for one of my book groups several years ago, and I enjoyed it. Wasn't totally bowled over by it, but then several years ago, after that, after reading book one, I had the chance to listen to an audiobook. Oh, I'm trying to remember which number it was. I think it was like number 15 or 16. I'll look up the name and put it up here. And I enjoyed that very much. I found that her later books had a whole lot more to them, more emotional complexity, more digging into some of the issues in today's world, and I really liked that. That to me was more interesting and intriguing than just a straight up mystery. So I've been listening to several of her later novels. Again, the names escape me. I'll show them to you. So that brings me to A World of Curiosities. This is the latest Louise Penny Um, I'll have to look up what number it is. I'll put that down here. And I've only just started it. But by now, I know the main character, Inspector Gamache, quite well. I forgot to mention my husband and I have also been watching the TV series Three Pines. We finished the first season, which is 8 episodes encompassing books like 1 through 5. I don't think it hit on every single book, but 4 of the first 5 books in the series. So we both loved that. So check out the TV show. And so far, this latest novel on audio is interesting because it is going back in time to when Jean-Guy, one of the other inspectors, that's a detective in Canada, that works with Gamache, that has been a main character in all of the books. We're going back to when they first met and when they first started working together. And so Jean-Guy is fairly young. He and Inspector Gamache, well, Inspector Gamache doesn't really clash with anyone. He's so mellow. But Jean-Guy does not like him in the beginning. So this book so far is split into 2 timelines. One in the present day as they're living in Three Pines, and one in the past on this very first murder case that Jean-Guy and Inspector Gamache worked together. So I am enjoying that so far. It's wonderful to be immersed in this world again, and I'm looking forward to listening to more. So that's what I'm reading this week. I would love to hear what you're reading. Let me know in the comments down below, and please take a moment to like and subscribe.